Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well today. Today what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of Christmas in July. I am doing 2 book covers from old books that I have. I thought you might want to come along and see how I do that. I'm going to be converting these really old antique books into journals, and I thought I'd show you how I do that process. I've done it before on this channel. It's not a new thing. A lot of people have done it, but this is what I'm doing, and I thought if you wanted to craft along with me, or maybe this is your first time seeing how it's done or the way I do it, then you might want to join in on me. Okay, so what I've done is I picked out some books that I want to use, and I've basically done it by size and color. I have these 2 old books. They are very old. I know they're, let's see, yeah, 1908. And then this one is, may even be older. 1894. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to take the book apart, because we're not going to be able to use this spine. And even if, okay, if you wanted to use this spine, because it's about 3/4 of an inch, if you wanted to use this spine you could, but you would have to reinforce it, because obviously it's not in great shape, and that would be easy to do. But I am going to actually take the spine off and basically remake it. So I am just going to come in here, and it should be easy to cut because it is basically falling apart. So I'm going to do that. All right. And I'm going to go ahead, and it really is falling apart. Well, you know, when you have a book from the 1800s, you can't expect it to be in great shape. But when I buy these books, honestly, like these I bought for the pages, okay? But a lot of times the covers are great to use. Now, of course, I'll save all these pages, and even if they're brittle, they're great to use in collage and things like that, because you really can't get that patina any other way. So if you wanted to use this spine, let's say you weren't going to be making a very thick book, you could use it, but what you would have to do is put some Tyvek in there, or some cloth like this. You could use this to put that in there, and it would reinforce it on the inside. And on the outside you could maybe put lace or trim or something like that, and that would reinforce the whole spine, and you would be able to use it. You could use duct tape if you wanted to, but what I am going to be doing is I am taking this off and trying not to poke myself here. I just put a new blade on here. It's very sharp, okay? Of course, you could do this with scissors too, because this is basically falling off. So I'll just do it with that, just to make it easier. I'm just taking my scissors right on the edge. A lot of times, scissors won't cut it, but definitely will on this, because they're just basically, I'm just trying to clean. I'm going right to the edge. And you could actually do this without using an old book. You could use chipboard instead if you don't have an old book. But you can get if you can really get old books, go to a used bookstore. You know, if you're not really too picky about the book itself. I pick things out based on what color the cover is, what kind of shape it's in. Like, see, this is messed up around the edges, but not so bad that you can't make it look good. Okay, so now I'm going to speed all of this up because it's going to take a while to get all of this done. I'm looking at the papers that I'm going to use to cover the inside and the outside of these book covers. Now, I don't always do that, but I'm doing it on these because, the covers are not all that exciting. So I think I'm going to use this for the inside. And I'm going to go ahead and tear it because I want it to have kind of a worn look. And it doesn't really matter to me if it fits on there perfectly, because later on I'm going to be probably putting some gold on the edges of the book to kind of camouflage some of the worn look on it, and maybe put some more like book corners on just to help with that, so you won't even see it all that well. So all I'm trying to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and tear it to approximately the size that I need, and then I'm going to just actually be decoupaging all of these on. And I'm going to be using matte medium because I like how it dries. Totally matte, so it won't have any shine at all. And it adheres really, really well. And it also dries extremely well and fast. So we're going to be using that. And I'm going to be covering both the inside and the outside of these. So it's going to be a little repetitious. If it is too boring, you can speed it up more or skip to the end. But anyway, I'm going with these papers because I think they're really beautiful. They're Ruby and Pearl. I don't remember what kit it is. It might be the embroidery kit or the monogram kit. She has the letters come in red and white or beige, and then black and white, and they have she has different fonts and things like that. But I really love these. So that's going to be on the inside. And I'm just going to ink all the way around and make sure that both of my covers are facing the right direction, because if you have directional paper and you do one upside down, you can't put the outside of the book cover, on facing the inside of the book cover facing the outside. You've got to have both outsides facing the outside, so you can't just flip it around. Now you could do that if you use chipboard. You could easily just do it either way. It wouldn't make any difference, but because of the rough edges on this, you really want the insides in and the outsides facing out. And that's part of why we're using the old book cover too, is you want that patina on there. So anyway, I'm going to put these on and try and do it before my matte medium dries, which I didn't do. It does dry really quick, so if you don't get it on there, then you have to reapply it. So, and it'll cause it to bubble if you don't have some everywhere. So anyway, that's all I'm doing here, is making sure that it's all down. And then I'm going to go over the top of it, and it does dry completely matte. Some of it gets on the back, but it'll be fine. So anyway, I'm just going to go over the back lightly. I'm not going to do a lot, and then I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry. I'm going to do the same thing to the next one. Make sure I get enough of the matte medium on, hopefully before it all dries. I like it much better than glue or Mod Podge, just because it does dry completely matte. There's no shine to it at all, and I kind of like that. If you like a shine to it, then you probably could go ahead and use Mod Podge. One thing I noticed about Mod Podge too is that because it's a water-based, it can tend to, if you have inkjet printables, that it can kind of smear your printable. So The matte medium does not do that, so that's why I really like it also. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm working on my second book, and I'm going to do the same thing. This book is not as in bad a shape, so it's going to actually take a little bit more to cut it and get the edges off. I'm still using my straight edge to do it, but this really, honestly, you could probably do it with scissors because it will probably come right apart. And later I do trim it up with scissors, but it's just easier for me usually just to do it. And this is an old math book. It's really cool. Again, I bought it for the pages, but I like the patina of the book and I like the size of the book. So that's part of the reason. Even though I'm going to be covering most of the book, you'll still see the outside edges and things like that. And that's what makes it look old. So I do usually put a little bit of gold gilding on the edges, especially like for a Christmas one. And then I probably put some brass corner pieces on it. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how beat up they are. But I'm not trying to make it look pristine. That's kind of not my point. So, um, so now all I'm going to do is just tear my pages for the inside of this book. And I'm just using some script pages here because I want this to be kind of um, less colorful than the red one that I did. So that's kind of where I'm going for on this. So I'm just going to ink around it, do the same thing that we did. And pretty much it's just the same process. So it's not really anything new going on here. The one thing that I would say that I do on this is I kind of make a boo-boo, but I fix it later. And I'll tell you what it is when I get there. But um, anyway, it's pretty easy, not a big deal. But it's kind of, you know, I'm adding old script to make it look old, but I want to cover the actual, I think there was coloring and things like that on the inside of it. So I don't think I really want that. But anyway, now I'm doing the outside of the first book because it has dried. And we're going to go ahead and use this really pretty colorful rose. I think it looks like wallpaper to me. It's not, this is from Ruby and Pearl XO also. And this is one of her printables. I can't remember. It's one of her Christmas kits, but I don't remember which one it is. But they're all really pretty. They all really work really well together. That's what's fun about it. And that's why I kind of don't know which one I got it from because I basically just printed out a bunch of different pages, not like the whole thing from each one. And then I'm going to figure out which pages I'm going to use in which book. And that's kind of my goal is to just make two different journals. And I probably will, interchange some. But that's the really cool thing about a lot of her kits. And a lot of the stuff that she has, and I'm like, I mean, this doesn't scream Christmas or anything, so you could definitely use it anytime. Even the other one that you'll see that I'm going to use, actually everything that I've used, the inside pages and the outside, you could use year round. It's not like you have to use it just for Christmas. So that's the one really good thing about her kits. There's a lot of pieces that you can kind of, use anytime. Now, see, I should have inked this before I put my glue down, so let's just hope it's not completely dry. So, anyway, again, I don't want it to fit perfectly. I want the, part of the book to show. That's part of the reason I'm using the old book. I want it to look old. So, And yes, it did dry, so I'm going to have to put more in there. Just because it's not going to work unless I do. It'll bubble all over. Well, there we go. So now that I've got more down there, I'm just going to use my bone folder and make sure it get on there really good. And pretty much I have a little tear that I put on the edge, so I'll be fixing that, but it's not that big of a deal. So I'm just kind of looking at it, deciding what I'm going to do with it. So pretty much all I'm going to do is do that, and then I'm going to do the back also. At first I wasn't going to, but I think I'm going to. So anyway, here I am fixing the tear, and it should probably dry to where you can't see it. And I think later on I'll show you that it does. So again, we're going to do this other back. You could just leave the back the way it is because it really goes well with the colors. I mean, I picked it thinking I wasn't going to do the back, but then I kind of decided, well, I'll go ahead and do it. And I'm trying to decide because she has the same pattern in a smaller print, and I decided I'd go ahead to put that on the back. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to do the same size, but I think it'll look really good. So that's what I decided to do. And watch on this one, I kind of actually purposely tear the paper so that you can see part of the book later. So and you'll see that in the end. It really looks kind of fun. I'm very, very happy in the end how this turns out. So, but you could definitely not put as much of the paper on there and have more of the book showing if you wanted to. Um, that you know, they're just really. It just depends on what you want to do because honestly, the color in the book I think blends really well with the paper. So I could have definitely used less paper on there. Now see at the top where it looks like it's kind of torn a little bit. So I'm totally good with that. I actually want that. So I mean that's something that you could do too. You could tear it more and make it look more broken up. You could go back in and use a nail file and sand it some to kind of make it look more, worn if you wanted to. But I kind of like how it looks. I think it looks pretty good. So I've got a little bit of a bubble in there, so I'm going to kind of pick it up again and then put some more. And that's probably because my glue dried a little bit. So when that happens, you end up getting a bubble. So on this one, I've got a couple places, where I don't have it covering real well, and that's fine. I think I'm really happy with that. I like that look. So the big thing is just to make sure that when you're using this, that you have enough and you don't have any big bubbles anywhere. So anyway, it's really kind of a repetitious thing here. So um, we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing. And now I'm going to take, this is my paper that I'm going to use for the other book. And again, it's kind of a wallpaper pattern. And she has this printed out in like different sizes. And this size, I think I like this, the size of the wallpaper. She has it larger and smaller, but I like this. And again, this is going to actually, the book that I'm using for you with this wallpaper is a little bit smaller, but the brown again, or the part of the cover is going to show, and that's good. I like that. That's intentional. Otherwise, I probably would have just used chipboard. Um, so, anyway, what I was telling you before, that I didn't tell you is that when I put the script on, the second piece on the inside of this book, I put it in upside down. So I basically went back and covered it with another script piece, and I actually like it better because it's actually the back part of the first part, and it matches better. So anyway, it turned out a lot better. So anyway, now what I'm doing is this is the first book, and I am going to do the actual joining of the book together. So this is going to be a soft spine, and the way that I do this is that I just take, this is kind of a broadcloth or maybe like a duck cloth, and I'm going to use that basically as what I'm using to join it together. And I'm going to be doing about 1.5 inch spine, and I'm actually eyeballing it. But what I am doing is using my mat. I'm lining up the bottom of the book on the line as I'm working so that I know that it's level. And then I'll also measure too. You'll see in a minute. So right now I'm just using my 3-in-1 glue, and I just put that on the edges of the book as far as it's going to go over. I think my duck cloth or whatever is about 3.5 inches, so it's going to give me, or maybe, I don't know, no, 2.5 inches. I'm sorry, it's about 2.5 inches. And so what it's going to do is it's going to give me about right about an right about 1.5 inches spine, which should be more than enough for the journal I'm doing. And so that gives me about 1 inch on each side. And so right now I'm eyeballing it kind of. I'm using my lines on my mat to make sure, but then I go back with my ruler. And then what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the distance between each piece of the chipboard or the cover is the same distance. So I'm wanting 1.5 inches at the top, the bottom, and the middle. And once that's lined up, I just kind of smush it down and let it dry a little bit. And we will be adding material to the front too, so it stays pretty secure. Some people sew them on also. I don't really see a need for that, but for the most part, this is just what I do, and I'll do the front and the back. Now you could also do this as a hidden spine if you wanted to, but we're not going to do that. So now here I have a piece of tapestry, and I'm going to take that piece of tapestry and cut it. It's not going to be as wide as the other material. This is going to be going on the outside. And here I'm going to try and figure out which side I want on there. And I'm going to trim it down, and I'm also going to kind of fray the edges a little bit because that's the kind of look that I want. I don't quite I think I make this around 2 inches, so it's not quite as wide because I don't want it to cover that much of the outside of the book, and we already have the inside securing it, so I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be using my 3-in-1 glue also. Now I'm not cutting this perfect. I want it reasonably straight, but I'm going to go ahead and fray the edges, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pull at the strings and see if I can get more of it frayed. And I realize that my other materials need to be trimmed, but that's part of the process. I wait until I get it all on there, and then I trim it. I don't try and get it exact as I'm doing it. Anyway, so that's going to be going on the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and keep working on fraying it because that's the look I'm looking for. And then I turn it over. I'm trying to decide which side of the tapestry looks better. And I decide to go with the lighter. That's actually the right side, but sometimes the other side will look really good. In fact, the tapestry that I use on the other book, I'm using the wrong side. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put that on, and try and, do it evenly. Again, I'm eyeballing it. But since my book is already put together technically with the other piece of material, I'm not really worried about lining it up or anything like that. I'm just trying to get this piece on, about the same on each side. So I'm not trying to line it up with uh, my mat board or anything like that, or my mat. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking some gauze, and I am going to be putting some gauze in between the two layers. And I do that mainly because I want it to have kind of a frayed look at the top. And even though I kind of fray the duck cloth a little bit, or the canvas, I really like the look of having this gauze in between also. Now I'm going to be trimming a lot of it off. I'm going to go ahead and trim this to be at the top of the book, but I still have my gauze in between there, and I'm going to kind of pull it out and fray it some more. So, and that is kind of, may seem like it doesn't add that much, but I think it really does give it an old patina. And when I'm ready to go ahead and put my signatures in, I likely will cover that duck cloth with some lace or trim or something like that, like some off-white lace or something, just to dress it up a little bit. Because it's really utilitarian, you can leave it like that, but I'm probably going to do that in addition to what we're doing. But I want it to dry really well first, and then I'll go back in, and the finished product will probably have some lace or trim over that part in the middle. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be adding any pockets or anything like that to this. I'm thinking I won't, but I don't know for sure yet. I could go back in later and glue some pockets in, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just kind of not 100% positive if I want to do that. So we'll see. So anyway, I'm just adding my gauze in again, and then just kind of making sure it sticks up a little bit so you can see it. And there we go, and just kind of trimming that back. And that's pretty much how it's going to look. So the really good thing about having this soft spine with this is that it'll your book will open all the way, so it won't be stiff. So basically I'm going to be doing the same thing to this other cover. I'm using this other material, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it to size. And again, I'm kind of eyeballing it. It's not really anything that I'm measuring. And I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be somewhat straight, but not totally perfect. I am going to try and fray it up a little bit. And so this is the part where you really have to make sure it's straight and your distance is, right. And again, I'm eyeballing 1.5 inches, and I end up having to mess with this one a little bit more because I put it on a little crooked, you can probably see. But I do go through the same process. I put my 3-in-1 glue where my duck cloth or my canvas is going to go. And I'm going to go ahead and just spread it out a little bit instead of having it just blobbed on there. And of course my book moved, so now I've got to line it up again. And I'm just trying to, get it to where it's somewhat straight so I can just put the material on. You have time to move it around, so it's not the end of the world, but You see, I have a little bit more problems with this one because I didn't do a great job of measuring. So anyway, so now what I'm going to do, it's easier to tell if you've got it right if you turn it over. Um, so again, I'm trying to get 1.5 inches, and this one's off a little bit, so I'm going to move it. Be aware though too that your material stretches, so you kind of have to pay attention to that. And I probably could have done a better job of kind of cleaning up the inside of this book too, so probably that's part of the issue. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have it about 1.5 inches top to bottom. And it keeps really giving me a hard time here, so I'm trying to get the bottom right because I had the top right, but the bottom just seemed to be a problem. And then it looks like I got the top not right now, so anyway, then I go back through and I check and I make sure I get it pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my other material on, and I'm looking, like, see, this is what I'm talking about, because a lot of times on your tapestry material you can use it either way, so I'm just kind of looking to see which way will look better. The other thing I do a little differently on this one is I put a little glue in the middle to kind of bind the two together. I didn't do that on the other one. You really kind of don't need to, because when you sew in your signature, you're sewing it together. But I'm putting a little bit of glue in there. I don't like to put a lot of glue because sometimes what that does is that really stiffens up your spine, and I don't. The whole point of doing my spine this way is to not have a stiff spine. I want it to be flexible. The cool thing about doing a journal this way is it gives you the best of both worlds. So see, I didn't do this on the other one, but I'm doing this to kind of show you can do that. But I'm not putting very much glue at all. I'm just keeping enough there to kind of keep the two together. So anyway, so that's what I do a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of trim that a little bit. You can see kind of a bump there. So yeah. So I'm doing basically the same thing I did with the other one. And I'm also going to add the gauze again, just because I think it looks kind of cool. And I'll trim it after I do it. The reason I do that is the same reason I trim all of like any kind of lace or trim anything after I put it on. It's because every time I try and measure it perfectly, I never do. So it just never works out. So this time I'm cutting it before I put the gauze in. I think it'll work a little bit better. This is a little bit thicker tapestry too, and so, all right. And I'm going to add a little extra glue in the spot that doesn't look like it's not on there. So anyway, yeah, it looks like I kind of didn't put enough glue or something right in that corner, so I'm going to go back and do that. And of course you want to do that too. Anywhere that looks like it's loose or doesn't have enough glue, go back in and glue it, and you want it to be secure. But honestly, I do know some people sew their cover on after they do this, and I mean, if you can do that, but I honestly don't think that it's going to come apart. You're gluing it in both the inside and the outside, and the 3-in-1 glue or the fabric tack glue, I know, holds it really well, and it's pretty strong. So I really can't see it, coming apart. But that's up to you. If you wanted to do that, what you would have to do is like maybe punch holes up and down each side, and then maybe hand sew through there. But I don't know. I've never done that, so I have seen other people do that, And I've heard some people say they put it through their machine, but I can't see my machine doing that. But um, I mean, maybe you can do it. I have no idea. I'm not recommending it because I don't know. I just don't think it would work for my machine. Anyway, so that is my second one. And, you know, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I got it all down good and fray it and then put more glue on it. And that's pretty much it. Now, I am going to be adding, as I said, some lace on the inside that covers the duck cloth. But on the outside, I'm going to put some trim after I sew in my signatures. I'm going to go ahead and add some over the tapestry after I sew in my signatures. And you'll see that at the end. You'll see, I'm not positive I'm going to use what I have, but I will show you. It's going to be basically just some trim on the outside just to kind of give it a little bit more of look. And now I'm just showing you what I'm doing. These are some very old antique postcards, and I'm kind of just auditioning them. I don't know which ones I'm going to use. Anyway, this is how it's going to look in the end. So thanks for watching, and then I will see you guys again next time, and you'll get to see the finished product. See you soon. Take care.